70. Here we go. Here we go, Brandon Aiyuk. Before we play all this, let's set the table so that you're aware of sort of like how this has gone. And Brandon has been on social media a lot, and the big headliner came just, I feel like it was a week ago? Was it the beginning of this week where he did the TikTok where he's talking to Washington Commanders quarterback? It's his buddy, Jaden Daniels.
It's about a week and a half ago.
Okay, a week and a half. Puts out a TikTok where he looks at Jaden Daniels and goes, yeah, man, they told me they don't want me. Now, obviously, the implication is he's talking about the 49ers. That was not confirmed, although it now has been. That was not confirmed at the time, but everybody knew exactly what was going on. In fact, here it is. This is the TikTok from a week and a half ago.
They said they don't want me back. I swear.
Okay.
They said they don't want me back.
Said they don't want me back.
Man.
So now he goes on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark. And Ryan Clark has been kind of at the forefront of this whole story as far as a media member, because he was the one who reported earlier this week that Aiyuk showed up to talk to him. Jaden Daniels was there in the room with him, but he also reported he was on his way to go talk to the 49ers. He had set a meeting. He was open to a trade. He wanted to stay with the 49ers, but he was taking negotiations personally, and it was not okay. So that's the report. Now here's the rest of the Pivot Pod, this episode, and a lot of the sound that many of us have been waiting to hear. More clarity, if you will. So this is a conversation with Aiyuk on what exactly the 49ers said to him that made him send out that TikTok.
They told me that they didn't think that we were on the same page and that they didn't believe that we were going to. And that was about it at that time. But it's part of it. It's part of the contract negotiations, trying to sway stuff in either direction. So whether that's 100% sure or not, I guess that's still to find out.
Okay, so the beautiful thing here, I thought Ryan Clark did a wonderful job.
Oh, yeah.
As did his partners in interviewing Aiyuk, because they asked the absolute right questions. Because Aiyuk at one point, he confirms. He's like, yeah, the 49ers, I had just been on the phone with the 49ers, and they told me that they don't want me. And Ryan looks at him and goes, hold on a second. There's no way that the 49ers looked at first-round pick, all-pro, Brandon Aiyuk, looked directly at him, or at least said on the phone, we don't want you. So what did they actually say? And that's when Brandon said this. I'll play it again.
They told me that they didn't think that we were on the same page and that they didn't believe that we were going to. And that was about it at that time. But it's part of it. It's part of the contract negotiations, trying to sway stuff in either direction. So whether that's 100% sure or not, I guess that's still to find out.
Okay, to me, the most important thing there is he already backs off of it.
Yeah.
They told me that we're not on the same page. We don't think we're going to be on the same page. But, hey, that's negotiations.
Yeah.
Don't even know if it's true.
That's different than they told me they don't want me back.
Just a little bit.
It feels to me like that could be Klay Thompson saying they told me they don't want me back. And you could say, okay, I could see that because it's been icy and there have been scant communications. But I don't think that the 49ers have conveyed publicly or privately, in my opinion, the notion that they don't want him back.
No.
I do believe that they are apart, far apart, or medium apart on a deal. We don't know that.
All right, there's two other pieces that you absolutely have to hear.
Okay.
Here's the first of the remaining two, where Brandon admits there were moments he thought this thing was just about done, and then it went a different way.
Throughout this process, there was times where we were super close, or I felt like I was telling people, like, tell my agent, let me get my suit ready. I'm ready. I'm going to get it back to the Bay. I got to get right to sign this contract. There's days and times, like in the past month or so, where you could say, yeah, we're pretty far apart. So
okay. So that's sort of setting the table for the next one, which I think is the boogie ball, if you will. All right? Because Brandon says there were times where we were close. There are times where we were not so close. Here's the one that I think establishes a timeline. And this is what we need to discuss. It also paints a picture that you were right about. Okay, listen to this now on how negotiations have evolved in the last couple of months, and pay close attention to how he mentions the other wide receiver contracts that have been signed?
I felt like when the season was over, I was trying to, I was back and forth with them every day. Like my agent called me an hour. We're on the phone for an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, hang up the phone. He calls them. He calls me back in an hour. We're trying to bang this thing out. And I wasn't worried about any other guy. I was just trying to get what I felt was appropriate for me at that time. That was the rush. That was early on in the offseason. We couldn't come to an agreement at that time. And then on top of that, other guys decided to come, or not decided to come. They got paid. Their teams rewarded them. The market changed what the market is. So we weren't able to get a deal done at that time where other guys wouldn't affect the market and I could just do what I wanted to do. But even at that time, they still didn't agree with where I was at. So we really haven't agreed this whole entire time. And for the last month, we haven't said much at all. So
okay.
Whoa. And for the past month, we haven't said much at all.
Remember, though, I want everyone to understand this is a podcast. He didn't say this today. This is the conversation he had with Ryan that led Ryan to speak publicly and talk about how Brandon was about to go meet with the Niners. So these comments, I haven't talked to them in a month, were literally right before Brandon went and met with the 49ers. Now, there are reports I've seen that suggest that meeting, quote, went well. What the hell does that mean? No clue. But the meeting, quote, went well. Let's add to it that Brandon tossed out a video on IG Live today of him driving up to Levi Stadium. Now, he's wearing a Pirates hat.
Yeah, well.
Do whatever the hell you want with that. But he was driving up to Levi Stadium, and that would suggest to me that this is meeting number 2. Or maybe he just showing up with a pen.
Maybe he's cleaning out his locker.
Maybe, well, he already cleaned out the locker.
Maybe he left a couple things behind. I left my deodorant and my backup pair of socks.
Maybe he wanted to burn some rubber in the parking lot.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so these are the tea leaves that we can all place together. What I hear is this, a few things. Number one, and there are other pieces of the Pivot Pod that obviously we can't play the whole thing for you. There's another piece where Brandon clearly states, I feel I'm in the right place with the right quarterback. He is asked at the very end of the podcast, where do you think you will play next year? What jersey do you think you'll wear? He says, I would have to predict that I would be in a Niner jersey. So these things are all part of the pod prior to him even meeting with the 49ers that, quote unquote, went well.
Right.
Okay, so put all that together. And what I hear are a couple of things. I hear a guy that is clearly taking negotiations personally, but at the same time, what he's saying here is much less firm than I think the picture we've gotten on social media. Everything he said here continues to leave a door wide open for these negotiations to circle back and get better right away. That's number one. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but I think the idea of the negotiation getting better, I think that both sides are probably pretty entrenched on the number. I don't think it comes down to whether or not they want him or he wants to be there. It's just about that number. So until they have the ability to meet in the middle, it's almost, it almost doesn't matter like how this goes.
No, but if he's still feeling like, he's not Clay. He's not so angry that he's like, bleep you guys, I'm out.
Of course.
He's still predicting.
He can't do that. He doesn't have the leverage to do that.
Good point. He is still under contract.
Yeah.
All right. That's number one. Here's number two, and this is where I think there's room for some differing of opinions, because you said it's about what that number is. But he's admitting right here that number changed.
Yes.
That number changed. So when he spoke to the Niners early, they were close. For whatever reason, it didn't get done. And then a bunch of other wide receiver contracts came in, and Brandon and his reps went, oh, well, that changes the number. And the Niners went, hey, we'll give you your number. We'll give you your number. Well, no, it's not my number anymore.
Yeah.
All right, who's right, who's wrong there?
Well, on the surface, I would say the team is right and Brandon is wrong. But the way it works is the market is the market. Klay Thompson got offered $2 and $48, and if he could go back in time, he probably accepts that deal because he's probably going to get half of that now.
I wonder.
In the open market.
Still wants 3, and he might get it.
He might. And I don't want to make this about Clay. We've done enough on Clay, but the idea of the market shifts and the market changes. And the fact that Justin Jefferson came in way over the top and exploded the roof off the market, and other contracts came in probably at a greater number than what Brandon Aiyuk was asking for. Well, we still don't have a deal. So now I think it's fair for him to say, hey, the market has shifted.
Yeah.
The market has moved. And when it moves, I move just like that.
I don't think it's the Niners' quote unquote fault on a personal level, but on a business level, yes, it is. They misplayed it. That's my read.
Yeah.
Like, let's throw out numbers that I don't know to be true, just to give an example of what we're saying. Let's say at the end of the year, the Niners said, let's do 24.5. And Brandon went, let's do 26. And they inched toward one another, right? And they were close. I think we're going to get a deal. 24.5, 26, that's pretty close. Brandon wants 26, Niners want 24.5. We're about to do a deal. Gosh, we're not quite there. All right, fine. Let's hold off. And then here comes Amon-Ra. And here comes Jalen Waddle. Here comes Devontae Smith.
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. And then, holy hell, Justin Jefferson. The Niners see all that. They call Brandon. Hey, Brandon, remember the 26 you wanted? You got it. Brandon goes, no. We're not doing 26. The Niners are like, I thought you wanted 26. I did want 26. I don't want 26 anymore. I'm better than Jalen Waddle, and he just got 28. So now I want 29. And now we're far apart, and now we're angry at one another. I feel like I've got zero info on this, but from listening to him talk, something like that is what sounds like happened.
Yeah, because he said in the first clip, my agent and we were on the phone with them the next day when the season ended, because Brandon knows that he doesn't want to play in his 5th-year option, and he knows that they value their own, and he knows that they want to do an extension. So let's do an extension. And from what I'm learning from Brandon Aiyuk, from all of the quotes and the sources and the reports and all the people we talk to, he's not built for this, Steve Wilks. He's not comfortable. Like Nick Bosa, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to have an omelet and whatever. This will work out. Wake me when you get to my number.
Well, he had all the power in the world.
He did.
We have great energy.
I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk is, quote, built for this sort of a thing.
And less leverage.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think back in February, he's thinking, okay, here's my number, here's your number. And that's why he was, getting the suit ready and he was close. And then from then to now, like you said, pow, 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 all these contracts come in over the number even that he was asking for on his top end. So now it's like Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
I mean, I don't want to paint with a broad brush. And Parag Marate knows more about negotiation. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. But it feels like I could maybe make a suggestion. Stop waiting so long. It's not working for you. So normally when you wait, it feels like a powerful thing to do. And this isn't just negotiating contracts. Think about this like you're playing poker, or think about this as if, I don't know, you just went on a first date last night. Do you call when you get home? Just relax, wait.
I could never do that.
I'm not saying like wait 2 weeks, but like chill. Don't come on too strong. It feels like a powerful position. But we have now watched 2 summers in a row where it bit the Niners right in the you-know-what.
Keister.
Because they waited on Nick Bosa, and Nick bent them you-know-which direction.
Oh.
Because he was willing to do what the Niners didn't think he'd be willing to do, which was miss games. And he took it right up to week 1 and went, what? He did that. And they had to pay him a very disadvantageous deal for the 49ers. Now, flash forward to Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know where this is going to end up, and the Niners are in a better position than they were with Nick, but here's what we know. They negotiated with Brandon right after the season. They got close. They probably could have had him. They pinched a few dollars. They decided to wait, and a bunch of other teams beat him to the punch. And now the price went up. And now you're flirting with stuff you didn't want to flirt with because the Niners want Brandon Aiyuk happy. They want him in camp. They want him on the team. And they want this thing done. And so for the second year in a row, waiting has hurt the 49ers.
And I think that they were willing to wait and kind of see, but the way the market went, and not only the Justin Jefferson, which nobody saw that thing going to $35 million a year, average annual with a guarantee of 88.7, the actual real guarantee, which is $37 million more than any other wide receiver in history. Nobody saw the ceiling going to that level. That's some vaulted ceiling right there. That's a high ceiling. You're able to play basketball in that foyer.
Yeah, man.
But it was the other contracts, too. Like you said, it was A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra and Jalen Waddle at 28-2. The fact that the upper portion of the market was that high, that hurt him. And there's still one more out there, and it's C.D. Lamb.
Yep.
So if C.D. Lamb, who I think most people would say deserves more than Brandon Aiyuk.
He probably commands it. Yeah, yes.
But if he comes in at 31.5 average annual.
Well, the Cowboys are just the quietest darn thing. I've never seen an offseason like this. Dak Prescott's going into his final year. CeeDee Lamb's going into his final year. They made no improvements whatsoever. They brought Zeke Elliott back and gave him the starting job. I've never seen anything like it. The Cowboys underperformed in the playoffs and then sat there. It's as if the whole team went on vacation. For the entire offseason, they've done nothing. It is the oddest thing I've ever seen from supposed America's team. Now, with all that said, the reason I think you're hearing from Brandon so much, Pivot Podcast, social media, that is a snapshot of his lack of leverage. Nick Bosa was able to just be like, omelet time, and he left, and he was gone. You never heard a word from him. He's just like, I'm going to go work out. And you guys are going to pay me what I want you to pay me. Brandon knows that if the 49ers don't come to a deal with him, he's really stuck in that position of, do you want to play on your fifth-year option? And we sit here with our franchise tag if we want. Like, we can really make this uncomfortable for you if you want to play it that way. So that makes it more interesting. But as you and I have said the whole time, I just don't see who wins. I see both sides losing if they want to play that game. I'll make a prediction for you here right now. Right now. I'll make a double prediction, okay? You know I will be with family and off all next week.
Yep.
I will return for the July 8th summit at Fremont Bank. Cannot wait. You should go to 957thegame.com right now to reserve your free spot. We would love to see all of you there. I very, very firmly believe that when I do that show, when we all do that show on the summit on July 8th, that Klay Thompson will not be a Warrior and Brandon Aiyuk will have an extension.
Do you think he will? Wow.
Lock it up.
And we were joking in our show thread earlier today about it happening today during our show. Wouldn't that be great news to be able to break it? And I set the over-under at $27.75 million average annual value. I got no takers on the over-under from any of you. I thought that somebody would weigh in.
You responded to yourself, and then I agreed with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I took the over.
That's correct, as did I. I don't know, though, about the number. I really don't. I get, like, Brandon's probably going to want, this to look good in the public eye.
Of course.
And I do think, it's funny because some people have been like, well, if you go to the metrics, he outperformed Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think there's shame in Brandon Aiyuk's deal coming in below Amon-Ra. I don't think Brandon would be comfortable with it coming in below Jalen Waddle. And 27.75, which is where you set the over-under, is below Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, $500,000 a year below.
I just don't think that I don't know how you can spin that. Jalen's wonderful, but I don't know how you can spin that. Brandon has literally said out loud, I want to be paid like the number one receiver. Jalen Waddle's a number two. He's a damn good one.
Yeah.
But that is not their best receiver.
He's not. And just the way you laid out the possible way that this money all went, the fact that the Niners offer is currently $26 million, according to Michael Silver of the Chronicle, and he's not signing that, that tells me that he's thinking he's more likely in the 29-30 range, which is what TJ Hushmanzada said to us. talking about the Amon-Ra at 30. So I do think that this settles right around 28 and change, but I think you're right. Probably just a